It was a winter afternoon in Chicago, gray and wet, the kind of day where umbrellas bend under the wind and the earth at the cemetery turns to soft black mud. I'd been there for someone else's funeral, keeping my head down thinking about all the times life had blindsided me. That's when I heard the shouting low at first, then sharper. I turned and saw her. A little black girl, maybe 6 years old, braids sticking to her face in the rain, clutching a teddy bear missing one eye. The man with her sharp suit cold stare was holding a grocery bag like it was trash. He barked at her. "Go on, get out, I'm done with you." She whispered something I couldn't hear and tried to stay near the fresh grave. Something inside me cracked. Maybe it was because I'd lost my daughter a decade ago and knew that look of absolute abandonment. Maybe it was because no child should hear "I'm done with you" in a graveyard. Either way, I stepped forward, water slapping off my coat, and said, "You're kicking a kid out after her mom's funeral." He glared at me like I'd stolen his line. "Stay out of this. She's not your problem. Looks like she's not yours either," I said, holding out my hand to the girl. Her name was Anna. She barely spoke, but she held my hand like a lifeline. I got her into my car heater, blowing Teddy in her lap, and she asked almost like she was afraid of the answer. "Do I have to go back?" I told her no, not tonight. Not while I still had a roof over my head and a say in my own house. My house manager, Ruth, opened the door, eyes widening when she saw Anna. "Lord have mercy," she murmured, taking the bag from me. "Ruth's been with me 20 years. She can read my face like a map." "You sure about this?" "I'm sure about tonight," I said. That first night was quiet. I made pancakes for dinner because that's what I used to do for my daughter when the world felt too heavy. Anna didn't eat much, but she stared at the pancakes like they were from another planet. Before bed, she whispered, "Can my bear sleep too?" I smiled and said, "He's family now." Morning came with light snow and a different kind of weight. I knew Darnell, the stepfather, wouldn't just walk away. I called my lawyer, a guy named Lawrence, who's been with me through boardroom wars and merger fights. "We've got to get custody. Temporary emergency, whatever it takes. She's got no one." As I'm saying this, I'm staring at Anna, sitting at my kitchen island, swinging her feet, drawing on a napkin. The napkin looks like a blueprint of my own heart walls. Doors, no windows yet. A week later, I went back to Anna's old house while Darnell was at work. I knew I was skating on thin ice, but I also knew where Anna's mom used to hide things. Under the floorboard in the bedroom closet, I found a green tin. Inside, birth certificate, a sealed letter, some photos, and a note that said, "If anything happens, Ethan Whitmore will know what to do." My name, her handwriting. My breath caught in my throat. I barely made it out before Darnell came home. He called after me. "You think money makes you a saint?" I turned at the doorway, rain dripping off the porch, and said, "No. Doing the right thing does." With the documents in hand, Lawrence filed for emergency custody. The first hearing was a circus, Darnell saying I was a rich meddler trying to collect a child like art. But our evidence showed his gambling debts, a sealed domestic battery charge, and a second mortgage he'd hidden. The judge looked at me over her glasses and said, "You'll have temporary custody for 90 days. Protect this child." Back home, Anna started to breathe easier. She braided Ruth's hair at the kitchen table, left little drawings on my desk. She whispered once when she thought I wasn't listening, "I think he's my dad now." That hit me harder than any corporate deal. But it wasn't all bedtime stories and pancakes. One night, my security cameras caught Darnell parked across the street. Another night, he left a note on my gate. "She's not yours." I called the police up the security, but I could feel the old battles coming back, the ones you fight not with money, but with endurance. Dr. Elaine Sorensen, the court-appointed psychologist, came by to evaluate Anna. Anna told her, "I feel safe here. I can sleep here." Simple words, but they sounded like thunder in my living room. The report came back glowing, calling our bond stabilizing and restorative. When the final custody hearing came, the courtroom smelled like paper and tension. Anna held her teddy now with two button eyes Ruth had sewn back on. Darnell sat across the aisle, arms crossed, face tight. I wanted to stand for her, but the judge said, "Let the child speak." Anna's voice was small but steady. "I want to live with Ethan. I'm scared of Darnell. I feel safe with Ethan." That was it. A 6-year-old cutting through months of paperwork with one sentence. The judge granted full custody, plus a restraining order. Ruth squeezed my hand. Anna leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "Is it over?" I said, "It's over for now." That night we baked a cake together, chocolate her mom's favorite, and Ruth piped, "Welcome home, Anna," on top. Anna giggled at how bad my handwriting was. For the first time since the cemetery, she looked like a kid, not a survivor. But stories like this don't end neatly. A week later, a letter arrived with no return address. "You don't know who she really is," it read. "Check Travis West." Lawrence dug around. Turns out Travis West might be Anna's biological father, fresh out of prison, tied to a man named Victor Reyes from her mom's past. Different kind of storm brewing. I stood in my kitchen, holding that letter, Anna's laughter drifting from the living room, where she and Ruth were decorating the Christmas tree. I realized this wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about protection, about truth, about choosing to stand between a child and a world that had already taken too much from her. People ask me why I stepped in. Maybe it's guilt for my own daughter. Maybe it's just that moment at the grave when I saw a kid treated like baggage. But here's what I know now. Family isn't who shares your blood, it's who shows up. I don't know what Travis West or Victor Reyes will try next. I don't know if the court will keep siding with me when the stakes get higher. But I know Anna's not going back to a life of being thrown away. Not while I've got breath in my lungs and a say in this world. So now I'm telling you, the one listening, what would you have done in that graveyard? Would you have walked on head down or stepped in? Because sometimes justice doesn't wear a badge or a robe, it wears a wet overcoat carrying a teddy bear to the car. If you've ever seen a kid caught between adults, if you've ever wondered whether to speak up, drop a comment below. Tell me about the moment you decided enough was enough. Tell me whether you think I did the right thing or just invited trouble. Because this isn't just my story anymore, it's about what we all believe a child deserves and who we're willing to be when the rain starts falling.